Welcome to United Hour, your one-stop shop for all things Manchester United. I'm your host, Nick.
I'm Imran.
And I'm Jamie.
Another three-man podcast here because we've got an absolute humdinger of a show today. Got a Manchester derby to talk about. Still several things to unpack from the new regime. The Carrick era has started. We'll also be touching on a pretty mental end to the African Nations Cup. Bits and bobs as well around the usual updates on Manchester United women and anything. I don't know, Jamie, if anything's going on in the transfer window, but you are our transfer guru, so we'll ask you that later in the show. We've got to start with the Manchester derby, don't we? I mean, I know, Imran, you were at Old Trafford for this, so why don't you kick us off with your immediate thoughts from the match?
You know, being a United season ticket holder, over the last few years, has been not a chore, but you know what I mean. It's not been the highest of the highs, but every year you have one game that it's like, oh, it's all worth it because of that one game. So last year it was the Lyon game. The year before it was Liverpool 4-3 in the FA Cup, and this was the game this year. It was an absolutely fantastic occasion, fantastic day, brilliant performance, great atmosphere. It was just everything you want from a visit to Old Trafford. We were brilliant. We played exciting, fast football. Honestly, watching Mbeumo's goal go in just did things to me inside that haven't happened inside me for a long time. Sorry for the graphic detail on that, but it was just fantastic. It really was a brilliant day out at Old Trafford.
I've seen quite a few fans say things like that, saying, you know, recently I've been questioning, why do I keep going to matches, pay all this money? And I mean, for me, it's not that far normally. It's like a 20-minute metro ride. I know for you, Imran, a bit further, but obviously there's a lot of season ticket holders coming from far and wide, and it costs them a lot. But then, they're all saying, these are the days that makes you remember why we do it, why it's worth it. I actually didn't go to this game. I was out in Morocco for the African Nations. I was then umming and ahhing about coming back from the derby, staying out in Morocco for the final. In the end, I didn't do either. I'd just come back on the Friday night, but I'd prioritised my daughter's game. She had a massive game, like first and second in the league, and I chose very badly because they ended up losing their first game of the season. But anyway, that's the way it rolls. After that, though, it was a brilliant weekend of football. Jamie, where were you watching? I know you obviously were not at Old Trafford, but where did you watch this derby game?
I just watched it with my dad up at his, and I'd kind of tuned in. I don't normally tune in for all the kind of pre-match build-up stuff, but just with it being Carrick's first game and kind of the enormity of how big the game was for us, I just decided to go there, and we kind of tuned into all the build-up stuff. And yeah, it was, even just watching it at home, you could just tell the atmosphere was amazing. Constant noise coming through the telly, and it did seem like it was a great day at Old Trafford. And yeah, it was a tremendous game, and for once it wasn't because we were on the receiving end of anything. It was all our own making, it was all our own doing, and it was just great to even just watch at home.
Yeah, I know, in like the kind of slight build-up to the game, in our WhatsApp, I know at least one or two people had said, I'm expecting to get absolutely pumped in this game. I actually wasn't. I was actually, first of all, Carrick's first game in, you're expecting some kind of new manager bounce, and even though it's not my favourite Ole, I still connect, obviously, Carrick to the whole Ole times, and was kind of looking forward to the Carrick era starting. We will talk a bit more about comments about coaches, and also Roy Keane, Scholes, Bot have been making comments about players and coaches this week, and do want to talk about that. But I was actually thought that the coaching staff that had come in were going to help us massively defensively, and where we've said all season that it's our defence that was the problem. We also had players back from AFCON, so there was definitely a story you could make to say we were going to do this, but most fans weren't expecting it. The bookies weren't expecting it, and especially weren't expecting a game that we can't absolutely, statistically, we absolutely deserved and didn't dominate it. I mean, this is the all-time biggest XG difference against Manchester City, where, in the kind of since XG records have began. Understat have got us at 3.07 versus Man City at 0.39. Other sources got us slightly lower than that. But City...
XG philosophy of us higher than that.
Did they? Yeah, because I saw another
Yeah, I think
one.
there was high threes for that one. 3.7 or something.
Live score I was only at 2 and City down at 0.4. So yeah, that's the slight strange thing about XG nowadays.
3.81. 3.81 for XG philosophy versus 0.47 for City.
Yeah, so they were the ones who were announcing this as the biggest difference in 2 games. And we were absolutely worth it, weren't we? I mean, it was just crazy to see. Makes you think about what exactly Ruben Amorim was doing in this team, where players were mentally, that suddenly they're gone. As I said, I don't want to get super excited about it. City were also missing a lot of players. You know, when the lineups came out, we weren't too sure about it. Actually, even I was a bit unsure about the lineup as it came out. You know, and Mbumo starts up front. How did it make you feel, Jamie, when you saw that lineup? I know you weren't that confident going into the game. Lineup comes out, and there was a couple of question marks over who was in there. You know, people were surprised to see Cunha, Sesko, Mount all on the bench, whereas like Mbumo starting up front and Dorgu still keeping a kind of attacking role. And people kind of thought he'd only be doing that while players were out. But yeah, for me, I always just get the feeling when I see the lineup. How did you feel when you saw that?
I actually didn't think too much of it was that controversial or different to what I might have picked myself, because Cunha being dropped, I did think Cunha needed to be dropped. I didn't think he's played particularly well for the last 3 or 4 games. It's almost like he's trying to do everything himself, and I did think he needed to come out the team. It was maybe a surprise that the player playing for him was Dorgu, but I do think Dorgu's actually been pretty good for the last month or so, especially going forward. So I wasn't really terribly surprised by the Cunha being dropped and then Dorgu being put in his position. The Mbumo being put in it up front and above Sesko, that did surprise me a bit. I thought that was a fairly big call just because Sesko in the last 2 games has scored, 3 goals, and has actually looked really lively, really on it. And I did think we'd need that against City because they did have players missing. Going forward and then in midfield, they still had practically their first choice guys, but the defence, yeah, they've definitely got issues there. And I thought they might try and use Sesko for that. So the Mbumo being brought in, that was definitely a big shout. Ahmad being brought back in, no, I wasn't surprised because we've lacked what he brings to the table, where he's able to beat a man and get a cross in, where he's able to cut inside and shoot quite quickly, and he presses really well as well. We've not really had that since he's been missing. I really was excited that Bruno was back in the 10. It was good to see Menu get a chance alongside Casemiro, because, again, they were up against a tough midfield, and it was a good opportunity to see how they were going to do. And I was really pleased Maguire was back as well, because just defensively we've just shipped too many poor chances, too many poor goals, and to see him come back in was really good. But yeah, the reason I was nervous just going into it was just because I did think, like, we don't know how well Carrick's going to do, but by the time it was announced, by the time the coaching staff came in, and it was only whatever it was, 3 days before the game, I just wasn't sure how much of an effect the coaching staff were really going to have. But I mean, after 15, 20 minutes, you could already see the difference.
Yeah, it was kind of straight away. Maguire has that chance heading onto the bar after just a few minutes, and it kind of set the tone for the whole match from there. I mean, Imran, you must have just been shocked in the ground, as I say. Well, home form lately is not good. Against City, we haven't even scored a goal in the last 2 derbies at Old Trafford. So to go like toe to toe with them and deserve, like, it should have been, you know, even the XG is saying 3, maybe 4-0 is just like beyond dreams, isn't it?
Yeah, but at first it was one of those where, you know, you're having these chances and you're missing them. You think, oh, we needed to score these chances because they're going to come back into it. We're not going to get them again, yada, yada. But the chances just kept coming. City never got back into it. And it just kept coming and coming. And eventually it was just like, yeah, we will score at some point. And we did. So it was unlike a normal United performance, let's say, where we rue these missed chances because we just kept on creating these chances. The best way to not rue missed chances is to create more. And that's exactly what we did. So yeah, it was definitely different from the usual United fare at Old Trafford.
And yeah, at the same time, we can't be that surprised. None of us were that happy with Amorim. I know we had some debate over Ole, Carrick, and in fact, last time you two recorded, I think Carrick still wasn't actually official, was he? I think it was announced kind of later that day, and then he only started on the Wednesday, so had a few days in place. But look, for me, Ole was my number one choice, but I still feel Carrick is is part of that whole Ole era as well, and maybe brings something else with him. He's had those couple of years actually being a manager longer than Ole has in the meantime. But for me, it's no surprise going back to four at the back. The players are more comfortable. Bruno in his right position, Ahmad in his right position. And it just makes you think about what on earth Ruben Amorim had been thinking for that year and a half that he had. It annoys me more and more now that I think about it. And maybe we didn't give him enough flack while he was there. I mean, we did give him a fair bit. We were never that fans about him while we we're going here. But it's just clear. Is it things that are so obvious, as I say, players in the right position. All season we've been asking for Casemiro and Mainu. They come in and it's just like a totally different team, and it all just works. It all just clicks, and it doesn't seem like rocket science, does it, Imran, to have players playing in the right position?
It doesn't. It's worth saying. It's worth remembering that, in a way, it's kind of it's a good thing that Carrick didn't come in instantly. Well, it's not, but let me get this point across, I guess. Darren Fletcher did have 2 games. And Darren Fletcher did play 4 at the back. So it's not just a simple change. It's something that Carrick has done differently to Fletcher as well. If you get what I'm saying, it's not just, we put people back in their position. It is partly that. But, we did have 2 games under Fletcher that didn't go well. Whereas Carrick's come in, he's put... To
be fair to Fletcher, there's 2 big players back from AFCON that Carrick gets. That. Plus, I think Maguire probably wasn't fit until this Derby game. So this, 3 pretty big players coming back in for Carrick. So that's why it did time it quite well. So yeah, that's kind of like I said, Darren Fletcher didn't have that luxury.
He didn't, but I think the way Carrick set us up, gave us a good base. Clearly, got us going forward fast. I feel like our players spent a lot less time on the ball than they usually do. There was a lot less dawdling on the ball, a lot less touches of the ball from our players, moving the ball a lot faster between each other, switching the play quicker as well, and obviously getting the ball forward more, running forward more, just like these simple things. But there definitely was a different ethos in the team. Started by Martinez and the amount of time Martinez and Maguire were looking forward. Just a big difference to usual centre backs dawdling on the ball, etc., or fullbacks not progressing quickly enough. So it was a very big and clear shift, I thought, in how we usually approach games, especially under Amorim. Obviously, then that's completely different. But I'm not saying Carrick obviously revolutionised wheel, but he did put in certain things that were different. And then obviously how we were pretty much 4-4-2 off the ball. And that's probably why Šeško didn't start as well, because Mbeumo and Bruno off the ball, we basically were 2 flank forwards of the 2, but both of them doing defensive work as well. So that's probably why Mbeumo was in there to do that defensive work, which did quite well. Wingers doubling up on Doku and the other guy, Semenyo, as well, was a big part of the game as well. So lots of different little tweaks, but yeah, it's not just putting people in the positions, but obviously that is a big help as well.
Can I just add to that?
Yeah, you don't have to ask. You don't have to ask.
No, I was just being polite. No, the other thing, just to back up what Imran's saying, the other thing I thought was very, very clear from the off. I just wasn't sure how long they were going to be able to carry it on. In addition to all that Imran said, the aggression and the speed of pushing out the players, I thought was marked even from Fletcher. So, for example, in the Burnley game, I didn't think the defenders, and okay, the centre-backs were slightly different, but the full-backs were the same. But the full-backs were kind of pulling inside and then trying to shield the edge of the box, whereas, on Saturday, literally every single time, whether it was Doku or it was Semenyo getting down the flanks, the full-backs pushed out really fast and really high just to get the pressure right on those players, and then when the ball then eventually gets fed back inside across the edge of the box, whether it's the 2 centre-backs, whether it was Mainu and Casemiro, or even the wide players in Dorgu and in Ahmad coming back in and then pushing out again to press really high onto the City players, that was a marked improvement, whether it was pressing from deep or pressing from high. and just the general kind of aggression and attitude in the team I thought was different. I just wasn't sure if they were going to be able to carry it on the full game, but they definitely did. And I think that is credit to Carrick and Steve Holland. I think that is a massive difference, even from Amarin to Fletcher's 2 games to the game on Saturday. So, yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see if that just becomes a fixture of how we play all the way through.
Yeah, and it is worth saying that it wasn't until the second half that we actually get the goals, even though there was chances from early on. The best chances came second half. And yeah, we kept going. And we had seen, actually, do you remember there was quite a few times under Amarim where we kind of started matches well, had a good half hour or even a good half, and it all kind of fell apart later on in the second half. Whereas this time, we're coming out stronger after half time. And again, you think, yeah, it's credit to the new manager and the coaching team over there. But again, to me, like I say, there's not a big surprise over it, because I think 4 at the back, players in the right position. As I say, we do have to be fair to Fletcher and even Amarim. That okay, players are now back from AFCON, a couple of players back from injury, but it's not all about that. I think it's more about the system. And it reminds me straight away about the ways we played under Ole. Obviously, Carrick was there as well, going on the transition. Ole had a brilliant record against Pep. And, in the meantime, we've not had such a good record, even if we did beat them in that big cup final and things like that. Generally, we've not had a really great record against Pep Guardiola until this game. And as I say, it's not just all about the fact that the XG is high on our end, as high as nearly 4, depending on what source you go on, but it's that we limited Man City. And as I said, they were missing defensive players, but they weren't missing anyone major in attacking areas. They've even brought in Antan Semenyo. We limited them to, 0.39, 0.45, depending on what sources you look at. No chances at all. 1 shot on target, and it was that one kind of corner, basically, that we did just slightly manage to scramble off the line. That was the only notable chance they had in the whole game. And it's been our defence, which has been the biggest problem all season. If we talk about, we only ever had 2 clean sheets under Amarim, one of them being with a back 4. This is only like our 3rd clean sheet of the season. And I mean, do you put that more down to system, or, Maguire's back, which is the bigger thing, Imran?
Maguire back is huge. It's weird. People keep saying, I keep reading these things like, oh, Maguire shouldn't play because he's probably not going to be here next season. 1, we're not sure. I think he should be here next season. That's by the by. 2, he's, if he's going to help the team, he should play. I don't care where he's going to be next season. He should. If he's going to help the team, he should play. So I was really glad he was back. It's a huge boon for us having Maguire back. Maguire and Martinez is a good combination. I would say it is system as well. Obviously, you got to have 4 at the back, but set up well, and I think we did set up well. But it's just that thing, isn't it? It's like all our players are used to playing 4 at the back, used to playing in these positions, and when they are in these positions, when they are 4 at the back, when they're in this system, things come more naturally to them. There's no, if you're at 3 at the back and you're not used to it, you may spend, there might be 0.1% of your energy goes into thinking about what you have to do. Whereas if you're in a 4, that comes naturally. And, we're all about these marginal game bullshit or whatever, but that is one, isn't it? If you think about it, like being able to do your natural game and without thinking, that is going to help you in the game. That is going to make you play better when you're not having to think, actually, there's another centre back inside of me, or if you're in a flat back 4 and you know where everyone's going to be, it's just going to help you, intrinsically going to help you. So yeah, I do think it's definitely Maguire being back help, but I think it's a system thing as well.
Yeah, and I loved there was that one moment Maguire with Silva had a bit of a kind of, argy-bargy just on the touchline. And I think it was the kind of thing that we have been missing lately, that bit of just leadership, that bit of just saying, we are Manchester United. And we didn't really feel it under Amarim. And I think that's the kind of thing that you get back with the likes of Carrick, Maguire. A lot of talk now about the Manchester United way, club DNA, and that kind of thing that we will talk about later in this podcast. But yeah, that just said it all for me, where Maguire literally just took Silva and was like, listen, get out of my area. This is not your area. This is my space. But yeah, brilliant to see all the way through. We will take a quick break there. Still lots to talk about. going to keep talking about this match yet. Still plenty to be going into. And as I said, AFCON women's football, Imran's got another stupid game for us as well, like I say, because we're on a 3-month podcast. So see you on the other side of this ad break. Back for part 2 of the podcast. So look, Jamie, let's talk about these goals. It was later on in the second half that we actually get the goals, but we had three goals chalked off for offside. All of them were pretty close calls. Do you feel that any of them were the wrong call?
No, I don't. It's certainly the two in the first half were absolutely right. You could. It's one of those for the Bruno one. You can actually probably just tell, just looking along the side of the pitch, that he's offside. Ahmad was maybe a little bit tighter, but ultimately both of them were right. I didn't really have any problems with it. It was just interesting that City just didn't really seem to react to that at all, that threat was there. I know they push high anyway, and it was repeatedly getting said on commentary about, even with everybody fit, they play with this high line. But the fact we exploited it twice, okay, they were offside goals, but both of them were guys have ran through, beat the last man, went round the goalie and put it in. I did think, surely he's got to react to that and realise that that's what we're looking for, as well as the counter-attack. But no, I didn't have any issues with the offside goals. And then second half, that type of break was always on. Always. And you're right when you say that was the threat that was there under Ollie. It's a threat we've always had, historically, where we break from deep with pace and good penetration up the pitch. And it was a thing of beauty, really. I mean, to be fair to Donnarumma had an unbelievable game. Some of the saves he made were standards, yeah, sure, but some of them were pretty good. And he was keeping City in it. We really should have been 3 or 4 up by the time we score, and he literally makes another good save seconds before we actually do score. And it was weird, right? See when Maguire heads the ball clear, it looked like a carbon copy of the goal Ahmad scored against Liverpool in the FA Cup that Imran mentioned from a couple of years ago. The way we get the touch to beat the defender, and as soon as the spring is on, that chance is on immediately, even though we're still halfway inside their own half. And that is why Bruno has to be in the 10. As soon as he's got the ball and he's running forward with plenty of options, he has 2, and eventually Dorgu comes up the flank as well, so he has 3. So it was a 4-on-3 the whole way through their half. You just know Bruno, 9 times out of 10, is going to give not just the right pass, but a pass where whoever the attacking player is doesn't need to even take stock and take a touch of the ball. They can just hit it first time. The pass is exquisite into Mbeumo. As I said, doesn't need to break stride, just runs onto it. A hard left-footed finish into the far corner, and that's the type of finish Imran and I were discussing last week, saying we just want to see players just hit the ball that little bit firmer and that little bit crisper, first time, second time, whatever it is, but hit the ball a little bit harder, because more often than not, you're going to give the goalkeeper something to do. And obviously, it beats Donnarumma for the first time, but it was absolutely deserved. And I need to ask Imran, what was the noise like being there? Because through the telly, it was like an explosion of noise, and it sounded amazing.
Oh, it was fantastic. Probably best atmosphere of the season so far by a distance. But it had just been building, because we were playing well, we were getting energy. Like, a lot of times Old Trafford can be down, but often if you're watching turgid football, it's hard to get up for it. But we were, like you said earlier, we were aggressive, constantly battling for things, and all of that's going to work up the crowd. It's going to get us more invested into the game. It's fair to say that teams feed off the crowd, but crowd feed off the team as well. And they were both working. We were both working together at Old Trafford on Saturday, so it built from that counter attack. You could sense it. Okay, Bruno's got the ball. Bruno's going to make the right choice. Dorgu and Mbeumo and Ahmad all bombing on. So yeah, when he actually put it in, especially because we missed all those chances. Casemiro just come close a bit before that, and Mbeumo had that shot a bit before that. Donnarumma was having a fantastic game. You think, oh, we're just not going to beat this lanky bastard. But yeah, when that went in, it was a great release.
Yeah, and in fact, Brian and Bumo had been getting a bit of stick in our Matchday Discord. For any of our Patreon subscribers, they get to hear the live thoughts of Jamie and Ed and whoever during the match. So yeah, if you want to hear that, go and join our Matchday Discord via Patreon. And he'd not been having the best match, had he, Jamie? I mean, I think at least one or two were saying he needs to come off. Let's get Sesko on. But he's a big part of that goal. Like, I know everybody talks about the Bruno pass, but actually the touch for him and Bumo to start it all off was actually perfect as well.
Yeah, it was brilliant. That's what immediately puts City on the back foot. As soon as he gets that touch and it flicks outside to Bruno, that immediately has got City on the back foot, and it just leads to the spring straight up the pitch, which was excellent. I didn't think he needed to be subbed off. I did still think he was having a good game, and he was impacting the game quite a lot. It was, to be honest, the only one that I was disappointed with in terms of his chances was the one where Rodri basically pays a pass straight back to Bruno, and Bruno then feeds it into him, and I thought he was a little bit flat-footed for that. But that was it, really. Other than that, I thought he was getting on the end of chances. The chance with Donnarumma just before he scores, I didn't really think he could do much else with that. He could just direct it on target, and that was about it. And some of the other ones in the first half, I thought he was unlucky to get on the end of, but I didn't necessarily thought he needed to be substituted before he scored. I thought he was still having a really good game, and the press from the front was excellent as well, as we've kind of spoken about a couple of times now. And I'm not sure you get that with Sesko. So ultimately, Carrick was proved right in starting in Bumo, because that pressure from the front, Bruno in behind, that was giving City all kinds of problems as well. So no, I was happy to keep him on.
Yeah, and those were the two big calls really from Carrick. Starting Dorgu on the left, starting Mbumo up front. I mean, Bruno, we know he's going to play there. Ahmad, when he was back, had to come back. And great to see him in his natural position. I mean, he was unlucky not to score as well, hitting the post over there. The big one that we hadn't seen for ages, Casemiro and Mainu finally starting in midfield, a thing we've been asking for all season. Every week we were saying, get them together, get Bruno in his natural position. And as soon as it happens, it all kind of clicks. I mean, there was a lot, Imran, who were saying they thought pre-match that he should have stuck with Casemiro Ugarte just because it's supposed to be more defensively solid and things like that. But Casemiro Mainu is what we've been missing all season, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Amarim's treatment of Mainu, the more you think about it, it's just bizarre. Like, his absolute refusal to play him and then come up with weird justifications of not playing him. We can only play in Bruno's position, but then when Bruno doesn't play, other people play it. And then when he's actually injured, he laments missing Mainu even though he never plays him. It's just it's just really weird. A really weird time of our club's history that thankfully won't happen anymore, because Mainu is a fantastic footballer. It's a shame that we've not been able to see him be a fantastic footballer for a while, but we saw him be a fantastic footballer on Saturday. He's just also one of our better press-resistant footballers, and against City you want your better press-resistant footballers on the pitch. And I also thought he did defensive. I mean, people lament his defensive work. He did his defensive work quite well, and he's much better in the air than Ugarte. So I thought he did. He's doing a job there as well. So yeah, I'm much happier to see Casemiro and Mainu. That's our best starting midfield, and Casemiro was fantastic. I thought absolutely brilliant. Probably his best performance of the season. I thought it was. In the first half, he was my man of the match for the first half. I thought everything he did was excellent, and then he kept on going in the second half. And I did turn to the guys around me and said, at some point Casemiro's going to have to come off for Ugarte, and they all said, "Why'd you have to spoil my day?" But thankfully, Ugarte didn't do anything too badly when he came on, so there's that. But yeah, I thought Casemiro was fantastic. I thought Mainu was fantastic as well.
Yeah, and just like Maguire, Casemiro, some people are saying, "Oh, he's not going to be here, whatever," but he's a major part of both of them while they're still around. Replacing Casemiro in particular is going to be our biggest issue going forward.
I'd keep them both. I would.
Yeah, I would keep them both as well, but still long term, I think we've already got probably options for Maguire, but for Casemiro, that is going to be a big, big question, and definitely something we'll discuss more on various podcasts. And the other one we have to give a shout out to is Patrick Dorgu. As I said, he was a bit of a surprise for me with players back from AFCON, Mount back from injury, that he's starting this game. But I think we have said ourselves on the past few podcasts that he looks a much better player in these attacking areas than we'd seen in that kind of wing-back role. And the only downer for me for this match was that I shoved him on my fantasy substitute bench, even made him like third sub. I didn't even think he was going to play this game. I thought if he plays it, he'll definitely be playing in defence. For him to then come in and get a goal was outstanding, but I've missed 15 points there. So yeah, that was the only down point for me. But yeah, Dorgu as an attacker, did we ever expect this, Jamie?
Not really, but then it is interesting looking back when we signed him. It was more offensively that he was playing for Lecce, and did seem to be getting fairly good write-ups on how he was performing going forward, and then we've immediately stuck him to left wing back, and he has looked like he was struggling a little bit at the start, like the start of the season to around about say the start of December. I did think he's not going to make it here, but he's always had a good engine, and he's always worked really hard, and he's always had good pace. But probably from around about the Newcastle game when we're stuck him further forward, he's just looked like a totally different player. And as I said, like at the start of the pod, I wasn't really surprised that he still started, per se, because he does have the athletic ability to get up and down the pitch all game, keep going, and actually beat a man. He almost does that kind of Gareth Bale thing where he knocks it by somebody and runs by them because he just knows I'm faster than them, so I'm going to get by them. And the fact that City had the injury problems that they had in defence and they were playing Rico Lewis at right back, I did think that's probably a good call because he's going to need to end up pinned back the whole game. And I lost count the amount of times in the first half, either he knocks the ball by Lewis and just runs by him, and then either opts for the pullback or opts to just drop it back in behind him to Luke Shaw, or that kind of triangle sequence where he's out wide, plays it inside to Bruno or whoever it is, and it's a pinged pass in behind Lewis, and then again he just runs by him and just gets to the ball every single time. And he was looking threatening even in the first half. There was that tremendous bit of play where Mbeumo flicks it around to Bruno, and Bruno hits this unbelievable pass with the outside of his foot, and Dorgu hits it, and it's a good save again by Donnarumma. So that threat was always there, even in the first half, and he deserves a lot of credit for the goal. So does Cunha, because Cunha does really well, and he almost stands the defender up and then beats him on the outside, and it does just look like a hopeful ball into the box. But we've not done that anywhere near enough, where players get to that position, beat the last defender, and instead they almost stop the ball and pull it back, whereas Cunha just beats his man and then feeds it into a really good position. And this is why you need passes like that, because sometimes you'll just catch the defenders out, they're all flat-footed, or they're all looking at each other, expecting the other person to deal with the ball, and then Dorgu just reads it. He just reads it better than the other three players, uses his aggression, uses his pace, gets in front, and finishes it. And it is unbelievable, the difference in him from the start of the season to round about the start of December, and then to now. It is crazy, and he absolutely deserves to be playing every week at the moment. There's no way I'd be dropping him. And yeah, he's becoming a threat, a real threat.
Yeah, and it's great for us just to have options now. Gives us options in fullback areas. Mazraoui will now be back as well from AFCON. We will touch on AFCON in the last part of the show. But yeah, it is giving us solid. And next game up is Arsenal, is another big one. But yeah, Michael Carrick is showing that he is a man for the big games. We remember his 3-game period as interim caretaker, whatever, last time. Means he's now beaten Emery, who was Villarreal at the time. He's now beaten Pep, obviously, in this game. He played against Arteta last time round as well, and Tuchel. And he had 3 wins and a draw against those 4 managers, who are still 4 of the biggest names. A couple of them are still linked with being our permanent managers. And yeah, he shows that he can go head-to-head with any of them. And it was a thing from the Ole times as well, that in the big games we had a really good record under these guys. So something about them that they can just get the team going for these big matches. And it's something that we really lacked in the last couple of managers. It's, like I say, that big game record, which makes a huge difference to the fans especially, does look good over there. And I did want to touch as well, like, it was a really good win. And I think, I hope in the background, players or the pundits or whatever are asking questions of some of our old guard. This has become a subject area, especially under Amorim, where he referenced Gary Neville and talked about comments around the club and the noise. And going into this game, I was really not happy at all. There was comments from Roy Keane questioning the coaching staff, especially like Johnny Evans, for example, and asking, are these the right guys and jobs for the boys? For me, it just smacks of like bitterness that Roy Keane is still upset that he's not the one who was ever offered these jobs. When he was a player, when he was our captain, he probably thought he might be Man United coach or manager one day, and he's not. And that, for me, it's all just him being very bitter. Plus, there was stuff from Scholes and Butt, like really disrespectful comments about Martinez, talking before this game how they thought Erling Haaland was going to just manhandle him and picking him up and throw him around like a toy or something. Imran, what do you think about these kind of comments? I generally just say I'm not that bothered about pundits or whatever, but this week they did annoy me, some of our old lot.
I'm never that bothered about what pundits say or what our ex-players say. Like, they say what they want. It shouldn't really matter. But I disagree slightly on the Keane thing. I don't think Keane is bothered about coming to managers or whatever. I don't think he cares. I just think Keane is Keane, and he'll have these opinions, and that's just who he is. I think if we offered him the job, I don't think he'd take it. I don't think he cares. Obviously,
I don't think about today. I'm talking more about that he feels like at some point in the past he probably should have had this opportunity.
No, I don't think he does. I think because I think he definitely holds a grudge against Alex, obviously, Sir Alex Ferguson. Obviously, he holds a grudge against literally everyone who's wronged him, including Carrick's wife. Apparently, like generally, the man can hold a grudge against literally anyone for anything, and that is who Roy Keane is. So he also kind of plays a character on his shows and on punditry that he's the Roy Keane character, and I think he knows what he needs to say to stay in the conversation and be Roy Keane the personality. So that bothered me less than Keenan's Scholes and Butt, who is just poor research from them, because Martinez has played against Haaland several times and has come out well pretty much all of them, I think. So it was an odd comment to pick on someone's side, especially because neither of them two are very tall or anything. So it's just a bit of an odd one, that one. But yeah, not great. Especially because I'd see where on the actual coaching staff point, I'd sort of see where Keane's coming from if this was a full-time thing, but it's not. It's an interim thing. Like, we need some coaches to get us through to the end of the season. There's not going to be many people who are going to just take a job till the end of the season. And I think we've done. Would I want Jonathan Woodgate in personally? No. Is Johnny Evans the most experienced coach in the world? No, but he knows the club at least, and there is something to do with that. I'm never. A lot of people get annoyed at job for the boys stuff. That doesn't bother me as much as it does with other people. And it's. Ultimately, it's all till the end of the season, so yeah, I think it's totally fine. And plus, I think getting that assistant manager we've got is a great addition to the coaching staff, I think.
Yeah, that's actually something exactly I was going to say. That I think it's actually underrated. That last minute, what the club have managed to put together. Carrick, we know he's been around before, but Woodgate is his guy who worked with him at Middlesbrough. I don't ever have great memories of Jonathan Woodgate. I always remember him as a Leeds scummer. I think people forget as well that he's literally a convicted criminal for like GBH or ABH or something and was banned for playing for England for years. Go back and look at that story if you don't remember it. But anyway, look, he worked with Carrick. They know each other. So he's brought him in as his own guy. But yes, Steve Holland, who is now officially our assistant manager. We already know his name. We took a bit of flack. You two guys took some flack. I think it was Ed at the time for not knowing who Ruben Amorim's assistant manager was. But I think that was the point, that his whole team were very inexperienced, had never done anything. Whereas already there's a better backroom there. That's the weird thing about what Keane's saying. He's questioning this backroom, but I'd actually say it's way stronger than what Amorim came in with. Much more experience, especially in English football. And yeah, Steve Holland, he was Gareth Southgate's right-hand man for England for many years. So yeah, he's been to tournaments, taken
and at
England.
Chelsea for years as well.
Yeah, exactly. Chelsea, England, loads of experience. And I actually totally thought, right, these guys, and especially him, is going to sort out our defence. And our defence is the biggest issue. We said all year, I've said this 3 at the back does not work. We've hardly kept any clean sheets, leaking goals again and again. That guy will sort out our defence. So I don't know whether this is a Carrick appointment, whether this comes from the more... Because we know Ineos have big connection into Gareth Southgate, especially Brailsford is a big fan and friend of Southgate. So I don't know whether this has come more from the Ineos side or whether it's Carrick. I don't know whether Carrick directly ever worked with Holland before myself in England.
I think it's actually came from Omar Barada, because I didn't realise till I was listening to something last week that he was actually recently in a job to do with, I think it's a team out in the Far East who's connected to Citigroup, and I think there's a connection there, which is why they were able to speak to him, because he was out of a job, and I think he already knows a few of the City guys that have now come to United. So I think it's that, and maybe they've asked Carrick when he was coming in about Holland coming in to be the number 2, and either way, it's a brilliant appointment. I was very happy with that. Just to piggyback off what you guys are saying, I just think it's ridiculous that there's that much of an outrage over coach number 3 and coach number 4. Literally, who cares? Like, literally, it's only because it's United and these 2 guys have been appointed at United as coaches 3 and 4. If this was literally any other club in world football, apart from maybe Real Madrid, nobody would care. But he's sitting, banging the drum on that podcast channel saying, what about Evans, what about Woodgate, when Gary Neville is repeatedly making the point, I don't know, I've never seen them coach, but his number 2 is Steve Holland. So exactly, the second most important coach after Carrick is Steve Holland. As Imran said, the only reason Johnny Evans is probably there is because he was literally played with most of the team, and he's a good connection to the team, and he has some of his coaching badges as well, fine. And Woodgate, as you said, that's his guy that he knows from Middlesbrough and worked with there, so fine. I just find it absolutely bizarre that it's such a talking point, that it dominated the end of last week and the build-up to the game on Saturday. And I have to say, finally, sorry, but if Daniel Sturridge and Micah Richards are sitting there saying to you, which is what they did to Roy Keane, sorry, your points don't make any sense, surely you need to sit and take stock, considering they were actually saying, no, it's pretty good appointments by United, and they can understand why they've done it. It's bizarre. The whole thing's bizarre.
You are right. Like, literally, at no other club do you know who the coaches are. You barely, any other club, you don't really know who the assistant manager is. But it's just because it's United, like, you will never know who the coaches are at other clubs. You're only the set-piece coaches at Arsenal and Villa because they like to get their mugs on TV. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, assistant managers sometimes you do see. They sometimes do interviews and things like that. But yeah, coach, like I say, Johnny Evans is essentially our like number 4, maybe even number 5, because
he's probably just putting
Travis
the cones
Binion.
Out.
Well, that's it. Travis Binion is also on the bench. He's from our academy, so he's the link to all of our youth and whatever. He's also part of it. So effectively, like, Johnny Evans is number 5 here. And I think, like I say, he's just another body around the place. I'm sure he's not asking much salary. He was still living in the area. I think I actually know where he lives. He's only like 20 minutes from Carrington. So yeah, it's probably easy for him to get this job and come in and just be part of everything around there. Like you say, he knows all those players. He's played with most of these. So yeah, Jamie, I think you made that perfect point. He's going to be that link to those players that he's played with and the coaching staff. So yeah, it all makes sense. All these appointments make absolute sense. So yeah, a lot of unnecessary negativity from the likes of Keane, Scholes and Bott this week, and I hope they're all feeling pretty ridiculous after Carrick and have done a brilliant job in this first game over there. We will take another quick break there, and we've still got loads to talk about in the last part of this show. And as I say, make sure you stay on or you'll miss the next Imran Stupid Game. We are back for part 3 of this podcast. Obviously, we'd like to just keep talking about this Manchester derby because, yeah, such a great win. Gets us back in there. We were briefly top 4 as well. We said under Amrim, every time we had that chance to go into that top 4, we failed. We were in it, but then, yeah, we're slightly back down now. But in that shout for the Champions League places, that's where we want to be. There is other stuff going on. As I said, players back from AFCON. I last night watched, obviously, this AFCON final. I had been out there in Morocco. I went to one of the quarterfinals, which was Algeria versus Nigeria. Pretty great game of atmosphere. pit stadium absolutely full of Algerians, but Nigeria ended up winning it. Saw Victor Osimhen score a goal. So yeah, good experience out in Morocco. The craziest one actually was watching Morocco get through their semi-final against Nigeria in the Marrakesh fan zone. There was about 90,000 people in there. Penalty shootout, crazy atmosphere. But yeah, I know you were watching this, Imran, last night. The game was going not. It wasn't. It was 0-0, but I think it was still a pretty good 0-0 with a few chances here and there. But then the whole thing just went absolutely mental in like injury time, didn't it? I mean, for anyone who's not seen this, well, how can you even describe what happened at the end of that AFCON game last night?
I don't think I have to, because I think everyone will have heard about it by now. But it was meant. I mean, most finals of international competitions, bar the France, Argentina one, usually they're pretty cagey affairs. But then it got into injury time in this one, and then suddenly, like, it felt like they were both playing for extra time, and then suddenly got to injury time, and both were like, "Nah, actually, let's try win." So Senegal had a perfectly good goal disallowed, shades of us versus Burnley with Martinez's non-foul on Kyle Walker. Then got a pretty soft penalty from VAR, at which point Senegal take all their players off the pitch. The manager takes all the players off the pitch. Sadio Mane has to make sure they all come back on the pitch. 20 minutes later, they take a penalty that Berem Diaz decides to dink into Benjamin Mendy's hands. It was genuinely the most crazy thing I think I've ever seen. I cannot believe... If any of our players decided to Panenka a penalty to win the Champions League, and it's the last kick of the game, and they miss, even if they decide to Panenka, I'll still be a bit annoyed. Like, just bury the bloody thing. Unbelievable. And then there's stuff with, like, towels being stolen by ball boys and riot police attacking. It's just just crazy Africa. That's what it is.
Yeah, and that's why we love AFCON, like I say, vintage AFCON. And I'd actually been saying while I'd been out there to people that, this is the first time AFCON goes off without any major controversy, because there's normally some crazy things that happen. Last time, I remember a referee blew the whistle in like the 85th minute or something, had completely got the time wrong. And there's normally other things, chaos around organisation and tickets. But Morocco hosted a very good tournament. As I said, I went to one match and went to the fan zones. The fan zones are absolutely brilliant. Great atmosphere. Quite feel sad for Morocco, feel sad for Mazraoui. Yeah, one of our players is playing in that final. They thought it was all set up for them to win. It was like 50 years since they've last won. And this Morocco team is very strong with a lot of big players. But yeah, they just didn't manage to do it. Our players had done well out there as well. Ahmad had absolutely smashed it earlier in the tournament. He was like man of the match 3 times. Was on track for being like one of the best players of the tournament, but then Ivory Coast crashed out. Cameroon didn't do as well, even though even Mbumo did get a man of the match award out there. So yeah, our players were big parts of it. And great to have Mbumo back, great to have Ahmad back. Mazraoui will be back for the next game. I mean, he'll be absolutely devastated as how all this went out. But yeah, you still can't believe at that point. Jamie, you seen that Panenka penalty miss?
That might be the most hilarious thing I've seen in a long time, honestly. Like, because Imran just messaged our chat saying, "Is anybody watching this?" And I thought because he meant it was like a thriller of a game, as in loads of goals, and it was just coming to the end, and it was quite close. So to turn it over and see just arguments all over the pitch, like folk just going absolutely crazy with the referees, with each other, with the coaching staff arguing with each other, getting pulled off the pitch to protest the decision. And I do remember us in the chat saying this would be the most hilarious thing ever if they come back out, take the penalty and miss. And Imran said, "No way, Hakimi will bury it." To which I agreed with that. So when you actually saw it wasn't Hakimi taking the penalty, I was a bit surprised by that anyway, because I just assumed he would take the penalty. And you honestly can't believe he's chosen to do that. It is absolutely mental that he's chose to do that. And I think Ashwin said, is that the worst Panenka of all time? And I said, yeah, with and without context. That is the most hilarious attempt at a Panenka ever. I don't think you'll ever see one as bad as that.
It was so
again.
bad that Mendy, even if he had died, could probably have like got up and gone and saved it anyway.
He'd have got up and caught it. Yeah, he'd have got up and caught it.
Yeah, and there's now conspiracy theories out there that Brahim Diaz missed this on purpose, which is absolutely ridiculous because he was the one who was going mental to asking for the penalty. And I have to say, yeah, there were two pretty soft decisions: foul on Hakimi, getting rid of Senegal's goal, and foul on Diaz. By the way, people might not remember, was actually Man City academy for years and played a few games for them before going off to Real Madrid. He was then fouled. But I think we see decisions as bad as that every week in the Premier League. People are making out like, oh, African referees and all this and whatever, they don't know what they're doing. We see decisions as bad as that every single week in the Premier League. Like, yeah, there were soft decisions. I can understand that Senegal were pissed off, but to take your players off the pitch is absolutely ridiculous. And I hope Senegal, I'm sure there will be some big retrospective punishment for them. You can't be doing that. Sets a crazy precedent. It was nice to see Sadio Mane did not leave the pitch, even though his manager was asking them to, and kind of seemed to be one of the main ones who was bringing them back on the pitch. But then there was some pretty dodgy goings on just before the penalty. And Brahim Diaz clearly was just mentally broken and went to go for something like that. Like, it's just ridiculous. And, that's something that's going to give him nightmares all his life. I mean, I still have nightmares for messing up in a university semi-final about 30 years ago. So, yeah, I don't know how a professional player in a final like that is going to, live down doing something like that. So, yeah, crazy.
At some point, I'd love it if, or not love it, but I'd be interested. At some point, a player's about to take a penalty and just says, "Actually, no, I can't take this," and just gives it to someone else. You never see that happening, but you can tell sometimes when players look like they're just not ready for this penalty or they're not up for it. It'd be interesting to see if one time just a player just says, "Actually, I can't take this," and then just gives it to someone else.
Yeah, and he was substituted soon after that.
Oh, because he was done. He was absolutely done after that. He's
done. Yeah. I mean, I watched some of the after. He had to go up and collect the golden boot. He was the top scorer in the tournament. And I remember, do you remember Lionel Messi had to go and collect the golden ball after they lost the final ones and he just didn't want it, but he had to go up and get it. And it was that kind of reminded me of that, where players get these awards, but they're just like, I do not want to be here. Please, I want to be anywhere else but here. But yeah, look, that's the way it went, as I said. Kind of sad end to the tournament, but this kind of entertainment as a neutral is what you want to see. So yeah, crazy AFCON. I had a great time out there, but yeah, just sad that Morocco didn't manage to do it, but they will get another chance to host at the 2030 World Cup.
Talking about ref decision, we haven't actually talked about the Dalot non-red card, which was a talking point from the game. I actually thought it would be more of a talking point coming out of the game. It was a big one, but usually with these things, it's usually just like, oh, United got lucky. But actually, a lot of the discourse has been that we were a much better team, which is good to see. But I didn't think it was a red card personally. I mean, for me, they described it as a brush and a glancing blow, and that's what it was for me. There wasn't much force in it. And if you put that situation again, Dalot has to go for that ball in the same way. He can't really go for the ball in a different way, and he doesn't. There's no force in it. I think it'd be a pretty harsh red card, personally.
It's one of those things that looks way worse in slow motion. And there's loads of that nowadays in the VAR area, where you go and send a referee to watch something in slow motion 5 times, and it looks like it's a leg breaker. But in reality, it wasn't. Like, Doku got up, and he was okay and carried on playing pretty quickly. And I think because Dalot does get a touch on the ball before he gets the player, it makes a difference. I mean, I know nowadays it's not a thing of did he get the ball or didn't he get the ball like it used to be, but it does still make a difference. And because it was early in the game as well, I mean, the referee wasn't going to send him off. But he could have been. He could have been. You've seen players sent off.
But I don't think VAR should get involved in it once he hasn't.
Yeah. Yeah, don't we? And on one thing there we did miss as well, and we were talking about the offsides. The third goal, I'm not sure if that is offside, and nowadays as well there's been question marks over VAR and these offside calls and about when exactly they're stopping the frame and is it the exact right moment, because of course when you're talking about millimeters, the exact second you stop that frame makes all the difference as well, and that split second, I think, can make all the difference. And I don't know, I still think something has to be done about these offside calls where it's just literally millimeters. It didn't make any difference in the end, but it is just annoying. I mean, I don't know if whether we'd go to daylight, which is what Arsene Wenger talked about. I don't know, but I still think something does have to be done. You want goals, and knocking off these things and not being able to celebrate is a bit of a killer. I mean, to be fair, I didn't celebrate the first 2 goals because I did think they were offside at the time. But that third one, kind of thought it would have been the nice icing on the cake. But yeah, thankfully, we didn't need it in the end.
So Jamie thinks that the red card was a red card.
Yeah, I thought he was lucky. The reason I think he's lucky is because I know we're saying he does have to go for the ball, and I agree with that. I actually think he goes with his wrong foot. I think he comes across and he just mistimes the step, so that as he steps with his right, he then has to kind of stretch across with his left, and that's why ultimately Doku knocks the ball by him. And I think he's lucky just because he catches him really high. I know there's not a lot of force. I know there's not a lot of intent or anything like that. I just thought he was lucky because he does catch him quite high. And as I said, I genuinely think if he goes for that with his right foot, it's probably just a body check, and that's it. And that's maybe what helps him as well, but I did think he was lucky, yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, look, we take those points, we roll on. Next game up is Arsenal. Manchester United women are also playing Arsenal on Wednesday in their League Cup semi-final. They beat Burnley 5-0 in the Women's FA Cup. So rolling on that, we have 3 new players making their debuts. Leah Schuler, Hannah Lundqvist, new striker Vangerheim as well. But the big story from that was 16-year-old Layla Diori coming on for her debut. Man United Girls Academy player and scoring on her debut. 16 years old. So yeah, one to watch out for. I know Skinner has taken a lot of stick for not playing academy players. So yeah, we get one of the teenagers in there and score straight away. But yeah, the big game for Man United women is Wednesday night against Arsenal women in the League Cup semi-final. And then yeah, we are playing Arsenal this weekend as well. Carrick's already gone head-to-head with Arteta and done pretty well. So are we expecting the same again, Imran?
It's going to be tough. Arsenal have a fantastic home record. I don't think they've lost there this season. They like to score from corners a lot. So basically, this whole game is stop them scoring from a set piece, and we'll probably get some. I think they've only won 2 games this season where they haven't scored from a set piece. So if you can stop that, then you've got a decent chance of getting at least a point. So yeah, we need to really work on our defending of corners.
Yeah, definitely. And to be fair, it has been relatively good even under Amorim. Like our set piece side of things was better, even if we have conceded a few here and there. But yeah, Arsenal is going to be a whole different scenario to City. And we did say we should slightly temper that City win with the fact that they were playing a very second, even third string back four. Whereas Arsenal, I know they had a couple of injuries, but most of their big defensive players are back now, and they have got by far the best defence in the league. So it's going to be a whole different scenario playing them, basically. So yeah, we'll see what happens over there. But it was like I said, Michael Carrick's already had one over on Arteta in the past, so let's see if he can do it again. Rushing through it because we had so much to talk about. But I know, Imran, you've got a game for us, a quiz. Everybody loves the quizzes. So yeah, 3-man podcast means you get a quiz. I'm going to pass it over to you, Imran.
Hello, welcome to Imran's Stupid Game. It's not really that stupid. It's just a Carrick quiz, a quite difficult Carrick quiz, actually. I'll put it out there. So take it in turns to answer some questions all about Michael Carrick, because he's our new leader. Therefore, we must know a lot about him. Nick, do you want to go first or second?
Yeah, I can go first. Like I say, you should always go first when you win that toss on a penalty shootout or whatever, right?
Carrick famously scored 2 goals against Roma in a 7-1 thrashing. Name every other player to score a goal in that game. Every single player that scored a goal in that game.
Every other? Oh, yep. No, I'm not getting every other. There's no chance I'm getting every other.
Come on.
7-1. That's too long ago for me. I can barely even remember who scored last week. 7-1.
It's a famous game.
Yeah, I know. It's a famous game, and I was even there for it. So I should really know this. But I'm not even going to attempt it. I'm going to pass it straight over to Jamie.
We don't do passovers, but Jamie, do you know any?
I know them all, yeah. Carrick got the first one, Smith got the second one, Rooney got the third one, Ronaldo got the fourth and the fifth, Carrick got the sixth, Patrice Evra got the seventh. Oof. And De Rossi scored 4.
Wow, there you go. That's how it's done, Nick. Unfortunately, that gets 0 points for Jamie, but you know.
I'm happy to give Jamie like even 3 points for that. Every single one. I probably could have. I should have got a couple of those for
You should
sure.
have
But
done.
yeah, I was like, oh my god, all of them. I'm not even going to try because I'm going to fail at some point.
Well, Jamie's got a chance to get a point now because Jamie Carrick obviously won the Champions League in 2008 and he scored his penalty in the shootout. Can you name every other United player to score a penalty in that shootout?
I'll give it a go. Tevez got the first. Anderson scored. Giggs scored. Carrick was one of them. Not Scholes. I'll take that back. It wasn't Scholes. It was Nani.
Yeah.
How many am I missing? Is it
One more.
Nah, I can't think. Can't think of the last one.
It was Owen Hargreaves.
Oh, I thought I was going to get. I thought I was going to get a chance at that.
Oh no! Well, no, there's no passovers. So Jamie has managed to name pretty much everything I've just asked, and still has no points. Well done.
That's another game I was at, and I
Right.
would have actually got that one.
Would you have got that one?
Yeah, I knew that one better. 7-1 and
All
a
right.
number as well.
All right. So Nick, as a United player, Carrick has won the Champions League, the Europa League, the Premier League, the FA Cup, the League Cup, and the Club World Cup. Who is the only other player to achieve this for Man United?
Oof. The Club World Cup.
Absolutely everything. Who is the only other player to do that?
I'm going to say Scholes.
It's incorrect. Do you know Jamie?
Yeah, Rooney.
It is Rooney, correct. Jamie's still not got a point. So, Jamie, who has played the most minutes with Michael Carrick in his footballing career?
So is this just at United? Sorry, or is this just all?
This is
together?
his whole entire career, but it mostly will be at United.
Yeah. Patrice Evra.
It's incorrect. It's Wayne Rooney.
No, it is Rooney. Oh, I was going to say Rooney as well. I just changed my mind.
Okay, so you can both name for a bonus point for both of you. Who is the second most?
Evra. I'll stick with that.
What
Nick?
it was Rooney? He's gone forever. I don't know. Van der Sar.
It is Evra. So finally, someone's got a point, and it's
Wow.
Jamie.
I think Jamie definitely deserves a point.
Buzzing.
Right. Nick, how many seasons was Carrick club captain at United for?
Say not that many. I'm going to say 3.
It's incorrect. It was just one.
Oh, all right.
Jamie, who became club captain after he left?
I bet you got my timelines wrong. Antonio Valencia.
Is correct. Jamie's got 2 points now. Wow. Nick's got 0 questions right so far. And I told you this is a hard quiz, so the questions will get harder. Nick, who was the captain at Spurs in Carrick's final season there?
Oh, I have not got a clue. It's
And it was around 2005, 2006.
I think I know that.
No idea.
Who do you think it is, Jamie?
Ledley King.
Correct.
Oh,
Still
wow.
don't get a point.
Jamie's
but well
smashing.
done.
No, I'm giving Jamie 5 points for this. Jamie, yeah, smashing it today.
Jamie, who was the Spurs manager that sold Carrick to United?
Martin Yole.
Correct. Tell you what,
Oh,
closet Spurs fan over here, Jamie. Nick, this is a humbling as bad as City got on the weekend.
no, and I'm normally always smashing it over here. Like, these quizzes have been my thing. So yeah, today it's on the other end.
All right. Nick, name 4 of the 5 clubs that Michael Carrick has played a competitive game for.
All right. Well, yeah, Tottenham, Manchester United, West Ham, and did he play for Borough?
He didn't know it was Swindon or Birmingham. He went on loan there from West Ham. Jamie,
Fair enough.
Carrick's last trophy at United was the Europa League. Name 4 of the 5 teams United beat in the knockouts.
Can I include the final?
Yep, that was a knockout game.
Ajax.
Yep.
Yeah, Ajax. Saint Etienne.
Correct, well done.
I don't think it is, but Real Sociedad.
It's incorrect, I'll stop you right there then. So you
Yeah.
could have had Rostov, Anderlecht or Celta Vigo.
Yeah, I was trying to remember the Spanish team. I couldn't remember who it was.
Right. Nick, we've got a few more here. Nick, Carrick has played 1 game in a World Cup. Do you know who it was against?
Random guess at Colombia.
not miles away. Ecuador.
All right.
Jamie, who did Carrick score his first ever United goal against?
I think it was Roma.
It wasn't. It was Aston Villa. Basically, those two questions were name an international team, name a Premiership team. Right. Couple more. Nick, who has Carrick combined with for the most goals at United?
Rooney.
It's incorrect. It's Ronaldo.
Fair enough.
Jamie, who is the current United top scorer in games managed by Carrick?
Bruno.
It's incorrect. It's Ronaldo.
Oh, it's Ronaldo again.
Two, and then last ones for both of you. Nick, true or false? Michael Carrick has never been sent off for Manchester United.
True.
It's false. He got sent off versus AC Milan.
I even got the
3-2
50-50 wrong. I even got the 50-50 wrong. Definitely
so
not.
Nick has managed to get 0 points. And Jamie, for just for the glory of it, true or false? Michael Carrick has never scored a headed goal for Man United.
False.
It is false. He scored 1 against Spurs. So at the end of all that, Jamie, you have got 4 points, and Nick, you have 0. Jamie is the well-deserved winner.
Definitely, you've done well there, Jamie. You've done well.
Cheers.
There's no arguments on that one. No controversy. No AFCON controversy on that one. That was a thorough smashing.
No. Like I said, I mean, I could have got a couple of the ones that went the other side, but yeah, I know, quite an embarrassing performance from me there. Too early in the morning. You're making me do these too early in the morning, Imran. My brain's not working yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, that rounds us off for this week's podcast. Do go check us out on all the socials. As I say, if you want to get involved in the match day, we are on Patreon. You can join our match day Discord and listen to Jamie moaning live during the match. What more do you want? We will be back after the Arsenal game and hoping the Carrick era rolls on for another win. Bye for now.
Cheers.